Shalom, everyone. We are just ahead of Rosh HaShanah 5786 in the Hebrew calendar, 2025 in the civil calendar. Uh, Last year, the headline was the year of great changes. It was a year with huge changes in world everything, culture, politics, economy. The changes are like huge and they affect a lot of us in all ways of life. And the changes will continue to be intense the coming year, also very intense. We still have 4 more years to this great era of changes. And that means if somebody wanted to be boring and nice and cozy, no, it's not going to be. We are continuing because the world is shifting very fast into a new order. Whatever was accepted traditionally as our lives, world order, relationships, justice, whatever, this is all changing and getting new face, and the changes will continue. So we have to embrace because what's going to happen on Rosh Hashanah will determine the rest of the year. So basically, our prayers, our meditations, whatever we do on Rosh Hashanah will be very, very heavily effective over how do we experience the year to come. So let us go forward into what Rosh Hashanah is about. I explained already in many occasions that we need a New Year's celebration. It's not a celebration, but this is much more than that. With the shofar, with the apples and honey, it's not a tradition. This is something much, much deeper than that. And what the Zohar is explaining that uh, basically within 12 months of the year, the Creator is giving every human being theoretically all the chances to meet all the challenges that his soul has to go through, his or her, and reach to a full completion within 1 year, which means at coming from the Zohar point of view, every year is looked upon as a reincarnation, a complete reincarnation. All the tikkunim, all the challenges, all the opportunities to become great, to achieve divine greatness, that every human being was created for that, and that alone. All of those opportunities are being given to every human being along 1 year. However, most of us do not achieve that. And therefore, when a year comes to its end, the whole tikkun, the whole karmic record has to be realigned, re uh, realigned, readapted, and basically, and all the tikkunim, all the journeys of every human being must realign to fit each other. Somebody has a tikkun being abused for who knows how many reincarnations, and to stop being a victim. Okay, so let's say you've been victimized by certain people in the last year, and these people moved on. They simply corrected it. They reached a higher level of consciousness, okay, and they're not going to victimize anyone. Who's going to victimize you? So the cosmic computer has to find a new boss, a new wife, husband, mother-in-law, whatever you just name it. Another opponent that will victimize you till you say, I'm out of it. I'm done with it. I'm a creator and I'm creating my own emotional connection to the creator. And being a victim is not an option. I simply leave it behind. Okay? So if you understand what I'm saying, this is basically on a level of a personal tikkun, group tikkun, countries, nations, the whole planet. Everything goes through a reprocessing according to all the new stuff that was accumulated in the past year. Last year, a lot of stuff have happened. A lot of people start to realize that they're being victimized, they're being abused, that there is not, that they're being basically passive and not active in their perception of human freedom, of human society. This is very important because human society needs to wake up, individuals and as uh, groups and nations and relationships among nations. The whole idea of exploitation of governments and bigger than governments, like bigger corporations that pull the strings behind governments. All of that, people are in a direction of free thinking and free independence. A lot of people are really not aware of what's going on. They suffer a lot. They're terrified for what's going on uh, because nothing is like it was in the past. It's not that simple and not that easy. Not in the past, it was good. It was not. It was horrible. We had no idea what's going on. But now, when we have the social media and people have access to information uh, simply as a bypass over the old-fashioned media that is always controlled by people of interest, much bigger than you can even realize. Okay, so waking up is really painful, and a lot of people are still dormant and they have no idea what's going on. That the world is changing. You have to fight for your independence. You have to fight for your freedom. First of all, you have to fight to realize what's going on. What is the real story? And it's not what the media is telling you. That's why the media is less and less people use the traditional media because you start to realize they're really selling you uh, old stuff and used materials. The same old thing about who's bad, who's good. It doesn't work anymore. Things are much more sophisticated than that. And what about discussion? What about the flow of ideas? What about listening to people in order to learn? You don't have to agree with them, but when you listen to people, you learn about them and you learn about the ideas they're representing. And you can get finally your own perception, but you have to listen to other opinions in order to be able to understand what's going on. So the new year is starting. Every human being is basically being judged, not because there's a God sitting on a throne, like, when you've been a kid, if you remember these stories, you're being judged by your own stupidity, your own negativity, your own mistakes, your own lack of awareness, your own disconnection, your own negative frequency that you did not take responsibility for. So, what is Rosh Hashanah is about? So, we learn from the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto of the 18th century Italy, that since the Creator wants human beings to have the power, to have the work, to achieve their own freedom from their own. So it's not in the hands of heaven. הנה יצטרך שהרצון העליון ייתן להם עניין שבו לא יהיו צריכים לו. So, on Rosh Hashanah, the Creator is basically giving us a formation of the soul and consciousness in which we can feel that we are not forced. Like the presence of the Creator is everywhere. There's nothing that is void, empty space without the presence of the Creator. We need to feel that the Creator is far away from us, so by our own choice, we can make the effort to get closer to the Creator. But the Creator is everywhere. There's not one particle that is not imbued by the light of the Creator. So the Creator creates that formation of the heart and the mind on Rosh Hashanah, that we have that ability to make a choice. Do I want to connect to the Creator, or do I want to be off? Do I want to live off the grid? You know what does it mean to live off the grid? It's nice to look at it, how people live in the forest. They hunt their own food. It's terrible, terrible. Human beings were created as a social animal. We need society in order to survive. If you're strong enough, talented enough, you can live off the grid. That will be horrible. You will sleep on the floor. You're busy 24/7 for your survival. You will never have time and access to knowledge, improvement, growth, and stuff like this. You live like an animal. Oh, but animals are great. No, animals are not. Animals do not have a tikkun. They do not have a soul. They have a spark of something, but they do not have a soul, and they don't need to reach higher dimensions. Okay? To reach higher dimensions, you need other people. You need people to coach you. You need books. You need lectures. You need the study. You can't reach that being off the grid. Very few people can do that. Very few. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Baal Shem Tov, there were some sages, but most of us are not in that place. And therefore, we need that space so we can discover the need for the divine, the need for the upper enlightenment. Uh, and when we do that, we have ownership. Now the enlightenment is ours. Now the powers are ours. And then we can come forth in front of the king of the universe. And by doing that, we draw his light to this physical dimension, and we help him to perfect ourselves and the world around us. And by doing that, ונמצאים שותפים עמו יתברך בקיום עולמו והשלמתו. And by doing that, we become partners with God by sustaining his world that he created and perfecting it. This is the mission of every human being. On Rosh Hashanah, we're standing there for the covenant, for the mission, to accept that mission, to accept that job. A human being without a mission, without a goal, is like, a balloon without the air. It's like a machine, a car without gas, without power. It's just junk. It's just junk. To clarify that idea, we have Rosh Hashanah. So while our soul is being processed, the Kabbalists are saying we somehow can feel consciously if we listen, if we pray, if we meditate, if we go into seclusion for a few hours, we can feel how our soul is shivering because it's being confronted with its mission, with this job. You have to confront with all the mistakes you've done in the past, and you have to overcome it and re-accept the covenant that every human being has with his creator. I'm not here to accumulate money. Money is not bad. Money is not bad. But I'm not here to accumulate money. Money is a mean, it's not a goal. There's a mission to every human being. Money, assets, family, they are means, they're not the goal. So when the mission is strong enough and clear enough, you're not making mistakes and you're not going astray, finding yourself in a dead end somewhere. Like, where am I? What am I doing over here? Why did I arrive? Why it's so empty and lonely over here? And the answer is very simple. You did not accept your covenant and the mission, not on Rosh Hashanah, not on other days. It's easier to accept it on Rosh Hashanah through the prayers, through the meditation, through the blessings, through the rituals. There's one thing that connects, unite everything. We are going through a great process. Our souls are being sown. They're being like going through a surgery in order to open them up and allow us another year full of life and bliss. So we have to adopt it. And when it says that God created Adam and he blew in his nostrils, he blew, God does not have lungs, but it's all borrowed issue and it's borrowed ideas. That's why the Zohar is saying it's like you have to realize when we use the shofar, and there's this guy who represents the whole congregation. He takes the shofar, the horn of a ram, and he blows into it. And it's like, you're doing it below to awaken it from above. The same way that God blew the life force into Adam and Adam was created, that happens every year on Rosh Hashanah because the world goes back to the creation and the to creation of Adam. And God is blowing our soul and our life back into us. So we have to reconnect to that original blowing, and that's through blowing the shofar. And what do you do when you blow? If you blow strong enough, it can open up all the tubes, all the passageways. This is very important to realize that that's what's happening on Rosh Hashanah. So we have to accept the creator of the universe, the king of all kings, as our king, because we are praying to accept him as the king of everything, of life. And then the words of the prayer, V'yeda kol pa'ul ki ata pe'alto. And every creature will know that you created him. V'yavin kol yetzu ki ata yetzarto. And every creature will understand that you created him. V'yomar kol asher neshama b'apo. And whoever has soul will say, Hashem Adonai Elohei Israel Melech u'malchuto b'kol mashala. God, the Lord of Israel, is the king and his kingdom is everywhere. When we have that awareness and consciousness and we awaken it inside us and we pray that every living human being, we pray for them to accept it. We create an awakening, and that's happening all over the world, that people are starting to realize something is happening. Who are we connecting to? Is it the gods of the uh, idol worshiping era in ancient times? Are we talking about the gods of the Dark Ages, the god of exploitation, feudalism, colonialism, and segregation of chosen ones, and the masses that are basically uh, like useless mortals? They're good just only for collecting taxes? Or are we talking about the God of the universe, the Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that created each one of us as his own child in order to make him a part, a child of God, in the image of God, in order to partner with God into completing the whole creation. The more we pray for it, the more we are aware of it, more people will wake up, especially on Rosh Hashanah. We learned in another lecture, the lecture of the holidays of Tishrei, that the process takes 22 days, which are basically correcting us on the 10 days of reconnection, the 10 days of Teshuvah, the 10 days of awe. That's from Rosh Hashanah till Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, we have another awakening of cleansing and connecting to all the bliss just out of the love of God to us. And just being there, waiting, connecting, praying to connect, we connect to the bliss of purification. If you're present there, you will feel a new year open up to be much, much more free to move, to create, to be. Then after Yom Kippur, there are the 10 days, 11 days of Chesed, mercy, right column, and then in Simchat Torah, center column. So that was about in the lecture of the holidays of Tishrei. It's basically God is taking us apart, every human soul, and reassembles it through correcting it as much as He can. Because if we are not present, how much of it can really happen? Still, we survive every year. It means that God makes it. He doesn't allow us to be totally, uh, uh, totally blocked with bugs. It's a little bit forward every year. Okay, we spoke about it before. The preparation for Rosh Hashanah, it's about the return, all the prayers, the meditation, the selichot, the forgiveness that we should do in order to reach Rosh Hashanah already like coached and prepared. It's a month of Virgo, Elul, which is allow us to see more of what's wrong with us. If you're busy being annoyed what's wrong with others, uh, that's that's because we're not aiming the right direction. It's not, no, our job is to criticize ourselves, improve ourselves, and help others instead of the opposite. Criticize others and help only ourselves. We make lists, we meditate, we achieve completions in relationships, we get feedback from friends, everything to get us into that awareness that something huge is happening on Rosh Hashanah and for the coming days. And we have to be present there. So that when the month of Libra is coming, this is the month to create balance. The letters of the month are Pei and Lamed. Pei has the power of Venus, and it looks, the Zohar says, like a snake hiding his head. And we know very well what Venus is about. From the outside, it's a snake. Passion of only worldly lust that basically, uh, it basically becomes a noise that does not allow you to find your mission. However, if you overcome that noise and connect to the grace that is in the planet of Venus, which is about finding the uh, the perfection, the beauty in everything when it is balanced, then you find inside the letter Pei, the letter Bet, which is the first letter of Bereshit, Bet, Bereshit, that you find it inside the Pei. And that's how the Torah starts, with a Bet. We read also the end of the Torah that ends with the letter Lamed, which is the Le'nei Kol Israel. So you have Bet and Lamed, okay? Together it's Lev, heart, which is like the first letter and the last letter of the Torah, and the Lamed is the only letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It goes up above the line. to bring the light from the upper worlds. This is the month of Libra, month of Tishrei. This is the month of the high holidays. So, Rabbi Shimon, we read in the Zohar, Parashat Vayikra, verse 302. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai made a big effort to prepare the people who led the service and blow the shofar on Rosh HaShanah. Rabbi Shimon said that the whole world will be atoned by the prayer of these people, which means the more we invest in understanding the blowing of the shofar and the prayers, we can atone for the rest of the world. And basically, our atonement, our reconnection can make an effect on the whole world. So people will continue to wake up and connect to the creator of the universe, the infinite, loving creator of the universe, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's why the Zohar explains in that same article, it's a war. On Rosh Hashanah, it is a war. And God is saying, give me power. You know, there's a saying, I repeat it again and again, that the Talmud is saying, more than the calf wants to milk his mother cow, wants to feed him the milk. But you never see cows running after their calves, trying to force them to drink the milk, although they're more eager to feed the calf, because it is said about God, God is giving infinite light. Now it depends on us. Can we step up to the plate and say, yes, I accept the covenant, I accept the rules, I accept the responsibility to connect to the source of all that is bliss, to the infinite light of the Creator, and simply be a vessel for that light without any conditions. No, I want it in gold, I want it in silver. I want my spouse to be like this, to be like that. I want it to be rich, I want him or her to be beautiful in this way, not another. No, no, that's not a goal. This is not, the goal is to connect to the infinite bliss of the Creator, to be fulfilled with that infinite bliss, to be fulfilled to happiness and fulfilling my purpose. And when we are fulfilled with that bliss, we overflow and we share with others. How do we know? When we simply love people unconditionally. Why? Because it's more fun to love. You know you are on the right track. Okay? And it's not after you got some mushrooms or powders or some liquids. It's because you created that connection to the infinite light of the Creator. So let's continue with the Zohar. Parashat Vayera, verse 381 in the Zohar HaSulam. תחת זה כגב נדב ביום ראש השנה ויום הכיפורים, דדינא אשתכח. בעלמא, יהיו קיים לקטרגה, וישראל בעין להתערה בשופר, ולתערה קול, דקליל באשה ומיה ורוחה, בתוויד אוחד, ולהשמעו קול מגו שופר. So how do we, as we said before, how do we give power to God? By the shofar. Just a second. Does God need us to give him power? All the power we have, it's his. Yeah. However, when God created the universe the way we know it, he created our dimension. So in our dimension, we are in charge. God, like the cow, same way the cow cannot force her calf to eat, God cannot force us to be happy. In our dimension, we are the ones who have to choose the godly if power to flow through us. We are the ones who have to make the choice. So therefore, on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, when the judgment is there in the world, why there's a judgment? Why it's connected to heat? Today, thanks to electricity, we know the more the more flow of energy goes through the wire, the more uh, problem we have with conductivity, they start to get hot. Till if it can go to a place, they start to melt, to go through a meltdown. Okay? The heat is the judgment. What creates the meltdown? So if we're talking about electrical devices, it's usually when there's a problem with the wiring of the devices. There's no balance. It's not balanced properly. And the same thing is with us. When we are not balanced properly, we get roasted. And then when it says that Satan is standing there to uh, convince God to kill every human being because, oh, God, see, he has such a record. Okay? What is Satan? Satan in Hebrew as a noun and also as a verb means to disturb. Who is Satan? It's another God? God forbid. It's all the negativity forces that we generated when we made mistakes, consciously or subconsciously. When we hurt ourselves, when we got disappointed, when we blamed, when we became victims, when we when we basically went against the rules of the Torah, when we loved the person because we expected a return instead of, what didn't you understand where it says in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18, love the other person as you love yourself. I am God, which means you love that person because that's a way to connect to God, not because you're making a deal and you're expecting him to be great, uh, to owe you. Never happens. Not in the way you expect it. So when you basically doing all your best for another human being in order to accept him to owe you and to reciprocate, you're digging your grave. Remember that. When you help others and you do it as a mitzvah, that's the way I'm connecting to godliness. I don't care if they say thank you or not. I just do whatever I can to get them closer to God. And if they forget me, yeah, God does not forget. I do it because that's my way. I'm basically using those people that I'm helping with love and happiness in no matter way. I'm using them to reach closer to God. So if they say thank you, I'm surprised. I should be the one who thank you. Thank you so much for letting me help you because I did it to get closer to God. The easiest way to connect to godliness, by the way, biggest secret, is when you give unconditionally with love, with light, with all your might. This is the highest level of godliness you can reach into. So what is Satan? Is all the negative energy that we created when we got disappointed. When we hated somebody because we loved them so much and they never helped us as we expected them. You were digging your grave by doing that. Do not expect people, they are not God. Always expect your reward only from God. So if you need to get it through a person, not always one person is worthy enough to be the channel to give you what God wants to give you. So somebody else will be chosen. You're not the one who chooses who's the one who's going to reward you. None of your business. You don't know the great picture of the show. So when it says that the Satan is there to prosecute you, it's all your mistakes and the negative energy that was a result of these mistakes that they block the arteries of your soul. And that means that's what the Satan is doing when he comes to court as a prosecutor attorney. And what do we do then? That's why We have to wake up, blow the shofar, raise the voice. And this voice of the shofar is inclusive of water, fire, and air. Three elements. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, three sefirot, that they are being united as one. ולהשמיע אותו הכל מתוך השופר. Why do we need three voices? First of all, why do we need the blowing of the shofar? So we said first, we are just blowing the shofar below in order to connect to that God is blowing, re-blowing life into the nostrils of every human being. So we're being told if you are present there, you can really improve that by blowing the shofar, because when you blow the shofar, you also help the universe to blow through the vessel of the people you meditate on, including yourself. You're supposed to do that. And that voice is included of water, fire, and air. What does that mean? That's the three basic elements. Water is the energy, the power of loving kindness, chesed. The fire is judgment. And the air is what balance between them so they can get harmonized. So when we blow the shofar, we do it intentionally to balance each one of us. Okay? So, how does that happen? Is that the Zohar is explaining to us on Parashat Vayera that when the 12 months of the year are starting on Rosh HaShanah, like the world goes to the beginning of the correction of the Malchut, the vessel for the light, like it used to be on the fourth day of the creation. When it says, and God made the two great lights, the big one and the small one. We just said the two big lights. Why the big one and the small ones? So there's a whole legend about it, and it says that the moon wanted the glory because the moon and the sun were the same level, and the moon said to God, it cannot be the two kings are going to be in power. You have to make a choice between me and the sun. And God said, you know what? You have to go and diminish yourself. Which means the moon had to become a vessel until today. The moon has no light, only what it reflects from the sun. Same thing is with us. We count by the moon. We humans, and it's not just the Jewish tradition. If you go to the all ancient traditions, even the Roman calendar, till Julius Caesar, was a lunar calendar. Okay, if you go to the Far East, most of the calendars are lunar. The Chinese calendar, the Indian calendar, the Hindu calendar, the Burmese, the Thai, the all the calendars of the Far East are lunar. Lunar, solely lunar, lunisolar, like ours. Okay? Only later the West turned into only solar calendar. Okay? There's a reason for that. But the lunisolar is that to understand that the moon is like a human being and the human being is like the moon. You have only the light that you reflect. Whatever you're holding on to yourself, that's a dark side of the moon. Whatever you take in order to give, that stays forever. Like charity that stays forever. You got money, you give charity, that stays forever. The rest is coming and going. So when the moon diminishes itself, that's corresponding to us, that we recognize that we are not the light. We are not the creator. We are God's vessel. And the only way to receive his bliss is to turn it into three-column system. Three-column system, water, fire, air, as we explained before. In the blowing of the shofar, the water is the humidity that comes from the lungs of the person who blows. The fire is the heat, and the air is blowing hot air. Okay? But that should be a meditation. What's the real meditation? Is that we are, when we blow in the shofar, we basically rebalance our soul. So it will be functional because every time we have an interaction with anything, we remember that A, we are a vessel, we have a mission to be fulfilled, to be happy, to be powerful. We also, the only way to get it is by, you want to be happy, you have to make other people happy too. It has to be by sharing with others, either charity, tithing, or the highest level. When you help, when you give somebody service, do it with love. Do it as a spiritual mission. Because when you do it as a spiritual mission and you channel God's light into helping somebody else, let's say you just came to fix their bathrooms, okay? You came to the hospital as a doctor to heal somebody. It's all about the mission. So we channel, we want to be powerful and smart and resourceful. Only when we remember that we are God's light vessels. And all what we can do is to draw the light that will be transferred through the person in front of us as suddenly knowing what they need intuitively, because then we bring it from outside the box. Then we become channels. Then it's like that part of the moon that is shining is receiving the light of the sun. So in order to shine over the earth, and especially at night. And then the whole world is getting the benefit of moonlight. Same thing with us. Why is God giving us certain talents? So we can use it in order to shine at other people and improve other people's lives. That's basically the simple story. So we have to accept that idea upon ourselves. So that is happening so the correction of our network connection is happening by using the blowing of the shofar. So what if you're not Jewish and you don't live in a place that there are people blowing the shofar? Just by, as the Zohar is saying, just by joining the prayers at your home, joining with your heart and soul all the ones around the world who are praying on Rosh HaShanah, you're already getting into the network. What if you're Jewish? You have to make the effort because you have the power to help others. You have, that's what we said. You have the mission. When it says the chosen nation in Parashat Yitro, just before on Mount Sinai Revelation, it doesn't say chosen nation. It says Am Segula. And God is saying you will be the guarantee, Segula, that the rest of the nations will come to it also. Kili kolas, because all of them belong to me. And that's why God gave the mitzvah just for the ones who were on Mount Sinai. But he gave it to them in order to share it, in order to do it for the others too, for the other nations also, to get them in the fold also. So what do we know when we listen to the shofar? What do we meditate upon? So usually it's either tekiah shevarim tuat kiyah. What is the difference? Kiyah is a long sound. Tu shvarim, the sound is broken into three. Tu, tu, tu. Teruah is a sound is shuttered. Tu, 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 tu. And again, tekiah, that's a long sound, the same like the first one. Two. Okay. Each one of them awakens another force, as you see in front of you. The tekiah, the first tekiah always awakens Abraham, right column, the power of loving kindness. Okay, you always have to start with the right foot. Abraham, tekiah. Every line sequence of tekiyot starts with tekiah. That always Abraham, the right column, the loving kindness. I've always to awaken the loving kindness, relating to everything that I've done and everything that I'm going to do. Okay, that's why they say always start with the right foot. Right column, that's Abraham, tekiah. After tekiah, you have either shevarim tuah. The shevarim, as we said, is a broken sound. Two, 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 always broken into three. And the teruah is a shuttered one. Usually they do both of them together. Shvarim tuah. Two, 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 two. This is awakening the left column, which has two faces. One, the shvarim, is the harsh judgment. And the second one, teruah, is the lenient judgment. Okay? We need both to be alive. The harsh judgment is when we are simply getting carried away and lose it. Oh, I lost it. Okay? Still, the shevarim and the harsh judgment, we can turn it into harsh judgment in which we are being carried away and we shut it down completely. You cannot do it for a long time, but just shut it down and then you invite the light of the Creator in. When you invite the light of the Creator in, it turns the harsh judgment into a lenient judgment. You don't really have to be broken totally in order to move along because the breaking is being done inside. Sheveri means broken, broken pieces. Okay, then you can awaken the tikkun, the correction, and that's in the teruah, the tu, to show that even when we block the light of God, He finds the holes through to blow through. When we are aware of that, we are aware of receiving God's light. Okay? And that's the purpose. After we awakened the judgment, that could be either Tekiyah Shvarim Teruat Kiyah, which means two, 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 two. Could be also Tekiyah Shvarim Tkiyah. Two, 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 or Tkiyah, Tuat Kiyah. Two, 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 two. If you notice always the right column, you start with the right foot. You always start with that. You always awaken when you hear the first tekiyah, you awaken the infinite light of God that is blessing us. Then you awaken the judgment that is yours. You're awakening it through the whole year. And the harsh judgment is that you simply disassociate for yourself from it and you ask for God to step in and step forward. Okay? When you embrace God at that moment, it's like it's two stages. One is shevarim, harsh judgment, bringing to a full halt. And then teruah, the broken sound, which is the lenient judgment, it's when we reach that place that I am controlling the judgment, I'm still getting the light. Okay? It's under control. That's why on Rosh HaShanah, on the second day, on the first day, we read in the Torah about the birth of Isaac. Isaac is the chariot for judgment. On the second day, we read about the binding of Isaac, that Abraham, right column, binds Isaac, the left column, and brings it into total control. Okay? And that's how Satan dies. That's how you kill him. And that's how you give power to God to come to this world. Because he did not shut down the desire. You did not disassociate from the desire. You do not detach from the desire. That's slaughtering the desire. And the angel of God says to Abraham, don't touch the lad. It's enough to bind him. You bound him. That's enough. Now it's all bound. Every time you feel passion to achieve something, first, harsh judgment. No, no, no. Then lenient judgment. Yes, I'll give to others. I'll enjoy it from it a little bit too, which means I'm overcoming the lust by staying away from selfishness, by being grateful by sharing with others, at the same time making others enjoy with the latter day God. That's the lenient judgment. It's very powerful, though, because when somebody is is in having like, is passionately jumping over the food, whatever joy you have, you think about one thing, how do I get myself stuffed with it? No, no, harsh judgment, stop. And then lenient judgment, I receive only if everybody else receives. That's why always every line of tekiyot ends with tekiah, Jacob, central column. What is central column? Binding of Isaac. The left column, the desire, the lust, the need, the desire, the cravings. Okay? That's Isaac, judgment. He's bound by Abraham, loving kindness, which means every time you want something so great and you're passionate about it, you're allowed in one condition. You bind it like Abraham bound Isaac. I will enjoy it only if I can make other people enjoy it too. Okay? That's not easy. This is the last tekiah. So we have altogether 100 blows of the shofar. The first round, if you are in a synagogue, so that's in the morning, there's a morning prayer. After the morning prayer, there is the Torah reading. In the Torah reading, we read about Isaac on the first day about his birth, and the second day about his binding. Okay? So we can connect to awakening Isaac and the control over Isaac. Then after the Torah reading and the Haftarah, now we have one round of blowing. So you have, as we said, all three in different combinations. Tki'ah, Shvarim, Tuah, Tki'ah, Tki'ah, Shvarim, Tki'ah, Tki'ah, Tuah, Tki'ah. So it's reciprocating. So to cover all the options. On this first round, we correct idolatry. We don't talk through that. There's a blessing in the beginning, and we don't talk till after all the shofar blowing is over. We talk just the prayers in the Siddur. This is to correct idolatry. Abraham, he corrected idolatry. He was fighting the idols that his father created. That's why he was thrown out of the business, and he created another business, the business of astrology and astronomy, and learning how to explain people's tikkun by being aware of what they need to do and what they need to experience. So that is the first round. In that case, if you really overcame all the judgment, all the lust, and the passion and desire, and you sweeten it up, you feel safe enough to continue going that direction. which means I still want to be happy, but I want to do it only if other people get happy. On the second round, that's after we finish the Torah reading, we finish reading from the prophets. We heard 30 different blows, almost one third, 30% of the blows. And it's all about focusing. It's all what we said, every blow, but it's correcting any kind of idolatry. Okay? Which means addictions, you name it. The second round is after we heard all the blows of the shofar, and in each blow there are 3 rounds. So again, you see 3 right, left, and center, Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. 3 within the 3, right, left, and center, Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. So it's always those forces. The second round, which means that is being done during the silent prayer. During the silent prayer, the moment you stop, and then when the congregation mostly is there, the shofar is being blown again. Here we correct all kinds of incest, which is basically uh, non-spiritual sex. That is, it's a sex which is, what's the word? Not regulated outside the network, which is also high and by. All kinds of. And that's also any kinds of passionate moves we make because we want to get something without godliness. The third round is in the repetition. After we have the silent prayer of Musaf, after the Torah reading, there's this repetition in which the leader of the prayer he sings it loud. Then we had a 3 round of blowing. This is to cover up for bloodshed. And bloodshed is not only killing people with a knife. Sometimes you can kill a person without any knife just by using words to make them look like nothing. That's bloodshed. It's like bloodshed. Okay? And you have to correct that too. So you won't reach that situation again. After we finish the 3 rounds, which means 1 after the Torah reading, 1 during the silent prayer, 1 after the repetition. So we have 90 blows. Then there's a Kaddish. And during that Kaddish, there are 10 more blows. That brings everything to 90. These 10 more blows, it's to cleanse Lashon Hara, bad speech, evil speech. Okay? Which can kill also. And after that is over, at the end of the prayer, we blow 1 long Tua. As long as the blower can do, that's correcting all the judgments that was left. Little judgments, usually a lot of little judgments. So by doing that, we bring the blows into 101 numerical value. Michael, Archangel Michael, is about love. He helps us to activate every time we hear the Tkiah to awaken Michael, to awaken his superpowers of Chesed inside us. So when we come to the end of the blows, it's already built in inside us. Okay? Another thing that we do on Rosh HaShanah is the evening meals. And in the evening meals, we eat stuff that reminds us. It's like positive affirmations. We take apple, Why apple? Apple, the Zohar is saying apples of those days. Today you have more genetically engineered apples, but they had white, red, and green on them. So that's the three-column system. White is water, the element of water, chesed, loving kindness. Red is like fire, okay? And the center is air, white, center column, balance. No, the air is green, I'm sorry. So when we take the apple and we dip it in honey and we say that we should have a sweet year, that we have ability that everything that happens to us bitter, we can sweeten it and make it sweet by overcoming the reaction, bringing in the light. And if it didn't help, you redial. Again, open the reaction, stop the reaction, bring in the light. That's apples and honey. You have the pomegranate. That by average, you have in every pomegranate 613 grains. That they're seeds, which they correspond to 613 mitzvot in the Torah. So we're wishing ourselves to be able to reach that will be so full of opportunities that have been materialized. We eat, and that's we have it's you eat whatever sounds like words that you can basically say with the words because words have power, especially in the beginning of the year. It affects the whole year. So we eat carrot. Carrot in Hebrew is gezer. Gezer sounds like gzera, decree. So we pray when we eat the carrot that we'll have good decrees. Or selek. Selek is beets. But selek means also it's the same verb as listalek, to get them away. So all our enemies, all our negativities will simply be driven out. Selek. And so on and so forth. And you can have also in the link below, in the YouTube link, you can have also you can download a PDF document with all the blessings. How do they pronounce them and how to say them? What do they mean? Okay. So with all of that, we bless each other with a happy new year, sweetened with honey, so we can take everything negative that we went through. And instead of looking for the blame and the shame, blaming others, taking the guilt and the shame on ourselves, simply saying, like we say in the beginning of the Rosh HaShanah dinner in the evening, we're going right now, we're going for removing all our troubles, leave them behind, and move forward into a year that is going to be full of bliss, positivity, and amazing challenges so we can enjoy them finally. Thank you so much. Shana Tova. All the best.
Shana Tova. Thank you.